Hello and welcome to your session on goal setting. For this session, we're going to be thinking about and looking at the importance of goal setting. First of all, we're going to relate it to yourself and setting goals for you personally. And then we're going to think about you setting goals with your clients when you're out in the clinical setting. So the main things we're going to be thinking about is the SMART, which is an acronym that's used to help set goals and make sure that they are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and timely. Another model that we're going to be using is the GROW coaching model, which links in with the SMART goal setting. So what's it all about? So David Attell wrote a book regarding goal setting, beyond goals, and thinking about effective strategies for coaching and mentoring. Goal setting used a lot with people on a one-to-one basis to try and help motivate them and move them into some kind of behaviour change or something they want to achieve. And one of the things that he felt that for me the question is how to help people learn by taking small steps, with each step defining the next until they have a sense of the bigger picture. What he and his colleagues seem to get at in this book is that goal setting is more about just goals and more about setting the goals and more about thinking about the person themselves and thinking about what intrinsically it is that they want to get out of setting this goal or this target. This interesting perspective to put on it, because I think sometimes as health professionals, occupational therapists, physiotherapists, we can sometimes be inclined to set goals for people. And this can be triggered by pressures on service delivery, pressures on time. But actually, when you set goals for other people, generally it doesn't strike that intrinsic motivation that's needed to make that goal really meaningful. So this quote sums that up. It's about taking them small steps, defining the next, and then thinking about what the actual bigger picture is. So first of all, you've got to think about setting the goal. It has to be meaningful. It has to be something that means something to that individual person that's going to motivate them. It has to come from them to be meaningful. It has to come from them as well for them to take ownership. And once that ownership's taken, then hopefully that person can then strive towards achieving that goal. And what we're going to look at next is it has to be SMART. So the S in SMART stands for specific. So when you're thinking about goal setting and you're thinking about goal setting with yourself or with someone else, you have to think, what exactly is it that I want to achieve? Where is it going to take place? How? When? And with whom? It may involve other people, and that's something you've got to factor in when you're setting the goals. And what are the conditions and limitations? So it's important to think about potential barriers or obstacles that might get in the way, because if you anticipate these before, then you're already thinking of strategies then to overcome them. And why exactly do I want to reach this goal? And what are the possible alternative ways of achieving the same? So then that last question really makes you think about what it is, why you've set the goal. Are you doing it because you've been told to do it? Or are you doing it because it's something that you're really motivated to do? So one of the things that we always think about and relate to when we think about goal setting is the goal of getting fitter and maybe attending the gym. But for some people, if they set themselves that goal of attending the gym to get fitter, but they hate going to gyms, then really it's not something that's coming from them intrinsically. So instead of attending the gym, they might want to go for walks instead. That might be more motivating for them. because ultimately the aim is better fitness, and you don't always have to get that from going to the gym. So it's important to think about, why exactly do I want to reach this goal? What is intrinsically motivating me to achieve that goal? The M stands for measurable. So measurable goals means that you identify exactly what it is you will see, hear and feel when you reach the goal. It's breaking your goals down into measurable elements. So it might involve you actually breaking the goal down into steps. So we'll go back to the goal of attending the gym. So part of that might be actually going out and buying the gym gear. Another part of it might be thinking about exactly what days of the week are you going to attend. Another part of the measurable aspect might involve the fitness, might involve some weight loss. You might be part of that is weighing yourself. So it's making the goal really tangible, and you know then when you've achieved it because it's measurable, and you can compare how you were before and how you were after. So the measurable part makes it very tangible, and you know when you've achieved it. Attainable. So this is investigating whether the goal is really acceptable to you. And you can weigh the effort, the time and other costs your goal will take against the profits and other obligations and priorities that you must have. So it's at this point that you're really making sure that the goal is actually something that you want to achieve, and something that you realistically can achieve as well. Relevant or realistic. So it has to be really relevant to you. And why do you want to reach this goal? And what is the objective behind the goal? And will this goal really achieve that? So sometimes people can set themselves goals and targets that actually, when they actually think it through and plan it out, the initial objective they wanted to achieve might change at this point, because they've realised that the initial goal they set themselves wasn't actually what they wanted or what they want to achieve. And if you can get that relevance and make it relevant to you, then you're far more likely to achieve it. And last but not least, one of the other really important factors when goal setting is making sure that it's timed. You need to make a tentative plan of everything you do, and key part to this is installing deadlines. So if your goal, going back to the goal of attending the gym, you'd have to put a date on that. So that'd have to be within the next week, or within the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks. By putting that date in place, it's intrinsically motivating you to want to achieve it, and it's also putting that little bit more pressure on you. If you leave it open-ended, it's unlikely that the goal will be achieved. But by putting a time on it, it's making it more sort of concrete, and you've got something to aim for and go for. And the timescales need to be really realistic and flexible, and that way you can keep morale high. So again, thinking back to the goal of attending the gym, if you're somebody who's not done any activity for a long time, and then you've decided you're going to attend the gym to get fit, it's not realistic to set yourself the goal that you're going to attend every single day for an hour, because more than likely you'll not achieve that of going every single day. And then you'll feel like you're not achieving, and then you likely then maybe will give up. More realistic a goal would be to go maybe 3 times a week, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6, and then maybe every day after that. So it's important that you make it realistic, but also have that bit of flexibility in there as well, so you don't feel like you're failing. I always like to add an ER onto the end of my SMART goals. And the ER stands for evaluate and reset. So it might be that you achieve your goal very quickly, a lot quicker than what you expected. You might want to unpick why this happened. Was it your approach to the goal setting, which will then help you set in your next goal? Also, it might help you highlight if you've not achieved a goal. Maybe it wasn't realistic, maybe it wasn't relevant, or maybe it wasn't actually attainable. So the ER, the evaluate and reset, should happen either when the goal's achieved or maybe when you've not achieved the goal. So you can actually think about what it is that you need to do differently this time to achieve what you wanted to achieve. So I was going to just go through these different goals. So I want to be happier. And do we think this is a SMART goal? Well, no, it isn't. It's not specific, it's not measurable, it's not attainable. It might be relevant, but it's certainly not timed. The next one, I'm going to be more mindful and complete mindfulness activity 3 times a week starting from next week. It's specific, we know what we're going to do. It's measurable, attainable, relevant, and we've got a time limit on there. So that's a SMART goal. I want to feel less stressed. Nope, not SMART, not specific. Well, I suppose it is specific because we're focusing in on stress. It's not measurable. Attainable? Well, not really, because we don't know exactly it is what we're going to do to feel less stress. Probably relevant, but not timed. Then lastly, I'm going to do relaxation every night before bed to help manage my stress and sleep better. It's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant and timed. So that's another SMART goal. Often when goals aren't SMART, so we'll go back to the first one, I want to be happier. That's when we don't feel that's when we can't achieve them because we've got nothing tangible to sort of measure that feeling of feeling happier. So when people say they're not achieving goals, it's probably because they're not SMART, or it might even be that they are achieving goals, but because they've not actually measured it, they're not realising it. So it can work both ways. So once you've set your SMART goal, then you need to grow. So linked with the SMART model is the GROW coaching model. And that stands for goal, reality, options and way forward. So this really helps you think about the SMART goal. So the first part of the GROW coaching model, just here, is the goal. So that's what we've just done. So it's thinking about what you want to achieve, what's the ideal, and what are your objectives. So we've already done that bit. So move on to the second bit. It's thinking about the reality. So where are you now? What is the reality? And ask for self-assessment and get feedback. So I think that links into that to the goal setting. So you're being very realistic about what it is that you want to do and also thinking about the reality around you. So if we go back to the goal of setting, wanting to attend the gym and get fit, if you then end up with a health problem or you end up unwell for some reason, then that's obviously going to affect the goal. So it's thinking about how that reality will then impact on your goal. The third part of GROW is options. So what can you do to bridge the gap? What are the options? Who can help you? What do you need? Brainstorming. So it's thinking about alternatives and different things. So again, we'll keep the gym analogy running through. Might be that the gym doesn't work for you. Might be that you need to go out walking. Or it might be you need to join a class or do something different. There's different options. There's different ways. If your ultimate goal is getting fit, then it doesn't have to be the be all and end all going to the gym. So thinking about all the different options available to you. Number 4 is a way forward. So what are the actions? And then you've got to commit to the actions. What are the steps linked to the actions? And also timing and action plans. So goal setting may then lead to more sort of in-depth action planning. And hopefully all this, as is in the picture, will help then that person grow.